Welcome to the HR Chat Show, one of the world's most downloaded and shared podcasts designed for HR pros, talent execs, tech enthusiasts, and business leaders. For hundreds more episodes and what's new in the world of work, subscribe to the show, follow us on social media, and visit hrgazette.com.
Welcome to another episode of the HR Chat Show. Hello, listeners. This is your host today, Bill Banham. And joining me on this episode is Carrie Cisek, Chief Human Resource Officer over at Granicus. With over 15 years of HR leadership experience, Kari has a wealth of experience in transforming workplace cultures, driving employee engagement, and implementing cutting-edge HR strategies. Kari, welcome to the show today.
Hi, thanks, Bill. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, listeners, Kari did say to me before we hit record, it's my first time, Bill. I haven't done a podcast before. So we're going to go easy on her. Okay, we're going to go easy on her. There'll be no gotcha moments in this episode. Why don't you start, Kari, by introducing yourself and telling our listeners a bit more about the mission of Granicus?
Sure. So I'm Carrie Cisek, as you've introduced myself. I have listened to some of your podcasts, Bill, and I've noticed you've had some heavy hitters on this show. I would say I'm more of the garden variety level HR leader. So in the trenches, I have been in this position at Granicus, as you said, for over 15 years. It's a PE-backed organization all those years. And prior to that, I was the head of HR for over 5 years at an early SaaS-based company, and they eventually weathered the dot-com boom and bust and had a successful outcome. So it was a good sort of training ground for me in terms of the HR space. And then I had a stint professionally in between those professional opportunities to actually be a middle school teacher, which I think has been incredibly helpful in terms of building resiliency as a professional and also being more adaptable. So that's a little bit about me. Granicus, so what we do, I think, may be a bit unique. We're in the GovTech sector, and our mission is to help government better engage with the people that they serve. So while we may not be in the government entities themselves, we work very closely and support those who are in those positions to actually serve the people that the government serves. So it's very mission-driven organization. And I think it's something that differentiates us from a lot of businesses out there today.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the HR Chat Podcast. If you enjoy the audio content we produce, you'll love our articles on the HR Gazette. Learn more at hrgazette.com. And now, back to the show.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. So I was reading a bit about Granicus ahead of this call today, trying to do my homework. It does seem like quite a unique organization, actually. I've not seen anything quite like this before. I'm still a little bit confused about the mission. Can you expand it a little bit for me, please?
Sure. So I think it's easier to think about the software that we provide and services that we provide to government. And so one easy way to get your head around what we do is we send out millions of emails. It's through our software, and they're sent out we don't necessarily write the messages, but we send the messages on behalf of the government. So if you're looking for information from the Veterans Administration on how to get information on new programs or services that they're offering, it could be through our platform that those messages are going out. We have a lot of federal agencies that we work with closely. And another one is Affordable Care Act. So if you're based in the US, and you're receiving messages and are interested in understanding when open enrollment is, it's through our software that those messages are going out. And we do also work with, we have a division inside of Granicus that can help to craft those messages so that we can actually reach more potential subscribers. And in the case with Affordable Care Act, we ultimately are trying to help them reach more people and to have more, to increase enrollment. And so it's usually, we're usually trying to help through the software that we provide in only the GovTech space. We don't service any other industries or sectors, and we want to make sure that our tools and our services are customized and software are customized to help them deliver and to achieve whatever it is that they need to achieve in that space. So from the emails to text messages to we help design websites. We also have things. Actually, there's another product that we do that actually will help if you don't want to do anything going into the office to perhaps get a permit. Say we have the software to actually build that capability inside of a website so that you can go to the website to renew your driver's license, get a fishing permit, a permit for the park in your local community so that you don't have to actually go down to the office. It streamlines those processes and builds efficiencies in also for the government. Hopefully that helps.
That is very helpful. Thank you. Now I feel enlightened. Thank you, Kari. Sometimes it takes a little while for it to stick with me, so I appreciate that. Okay, so as a senior HR leader within this space, what does the current public sector technology hiring landscape look like?
So the hiring for our organization, I think, given that we are mission driven, it's I think potentially it's a more compelling position or place to work given the work that we do and the clients that we support. And so I think it again it's a differentiator for us in terms of talent that we're talking to or candidates that we're engaging with. And so I think it's easy for them to understand the value of what we're doing and to be interested in the mission and the delivery and to support that. So I would say one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that we are a global organization. And so we have over 2,100 employees, and we're across 10 different countries. And so this has come to us through a lot of these pockets of teams have been brought to us through different acquisitions that we've had over time. And so we have teams in Costa Rica and Canada, UK, Armenia, Spain. We now have Norway, India, New Zealand, and Australia. And so on a hiring landscape, coming back to that original question, we actually have global talent that is available to us. And that actually makes it it sort of adds another dimension where we feel like there is great talent globally, and we're able to tap into that too.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the HR Chat Show. IEA Training provides professional development to a changing workforce with changing needs, and we're proud to support this episode of the HR Chat podcast. IEA offers lots of courses, webinars, and on-demand training to meet our students where they are and help them reach their goals. We're proud of our contribution to better risk analysis and high operating standards in the industry. Learn more at ieatraining.org. And now, back to the conversation.
Okay, so you guys are across 10 countries. Do you get to travel much? Have you been to Costa Rica, Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, the others that you mentioned?
Actually, I'm packing my bags right now to go to India. And so I'm really excited to spend time with the team there next week.
Rock and roll, that's a big affirmative. So I'm guessing then that you've got a perspective that it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It doesn't matter what time zone you're on. If you've got the skills, if you've got the aptitude, if you've got the right attitude in terms of what a company culture is looking for, you can work anywhere. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, 100%. I feel like there are brilliant people around the world, and I think we actually benefit as an organization. I think it brings a richness and deepness to the teams and the interactions, the problem solving, solutioning. And so I think that we have benefited tremendously from having a global footprint in terms of our employee base.
Kari, I like you, and I agree with you. I think one of the silver linings from the pandemic, although it was a dark and terrible time, was the fact that it opened people's eyes up to the fact that, yes, you can have a global workforce. It doesn't really matter where you are. And it doesn't matter. People don't need to be in offices. We're not children. Anyway, this is not an interview with me. It's an interview with you. So let's get through. But in 60 seconds or less, what is unique about working within the government space?
What is unique? So I think really it's the way that we're able to help the clients. And so often I think government entities, they're usually resource constrained. And so they are, I think the level of help that we can provide and the appreciation, I think, for how we work with them and how we're able to help them in their positions, I think is unique. They're also, I think, what's unique working in government is what they're trying to accomplish. And so we can actually work with teams that are helping, children to get lunches over the summertime, for example, or meals that they may not have access to. It's the outcomes in which that we are working to help deliver is really incredibly meaningful. And so that, I think, I'm not sure if I'm answering the question, Bill. I've got myself sort of wrapped around here, but I think that particular sector, working with this particular client base, really, again, it can help illuminate sort of what's happening in pockets and corners of the world that you may not have access to, say, if you're at, an organization that's delivering widgets, for example.
Kari, don't worry, you're doing a sterling job here, okay? just to reiterate, this is Kari's first podcast, and she is knocking out the park. So good work. Okay, so what are some of those other current priorities for the Granicus HR team?
So one thing I didn't touch upon, but you did, Bill, was, and maybe it goes without saying, being a global workforce is that we are remote, fully remote. And so we have definitely leaned in to and embraced being a remote organization. And that with that comes figuring out ways in which to continue to create connections and community across our global organization. So for us, that's a priority. And I would say, we work hard also on recognition. And so we want to make sure that we have different opportunities and ways to recognize and reward the employees that are doing this good work inside of Granicus. So those are a couple of our priorities. We're also, we are still focused on, and I know that this is a bit of a touchy subject at the moment, but we definitely still lean in hard on belonging. We want all of our employees to feel a sense of belonging at Granicus, and to also foster a sense of belonging with the teams and other employees that they're working with. So those are some priorities for us. And I had mentioned earlier about the recognition and the connections and in a remote environment. We also are working on a cultural ambassador program, which we did a pilot of that this year. It's been incredibly successful. So there are folks that are inside of our organization who have access to information and systems and processes and tools and see opportunities to improve what we're doing and to amplify that. And so we've created a program that actually can help to elevate those ideas and thoughts inside of Granicus, so we can continue to improve what we're doing and to improve it from just different perspectives of different people in the organization.
One last question for you. It's a doozy. How can our listeners connect with you? Is that LinkedIn? Is that email? I'll bet you're super cool and all over Instagram and TikTok and places. And of course, how can folks learn more about Granicus?
So certainly encourage folks to head to the Granicus website. So Granicus.com is one area if you want to learn more about Granicus and what we're doing. There's a lot of great information there and different use cases. And so that is one opportunity. I am on LinkedIn, and I would be more than happy to connect with anyone that is interested in learning more about what we're doing at Granicus and connecting. I have had, being in a private equity firm being in a private equity backed company, I have had a fantastic network of HR professionals to connect with along the way. And so I'm always happy to connect with anyone that's interested in brainstorming, troubleshooting, just shooting. I was going to swear. I'll hold that one in. So I'm happy to connect with anyone that's interested.
Shooting the poop. There we go.
Yes,
okay.
There you
go. And by the way, just before you and I started chatting today, I sent you a connection request on LinkedIn.
Oh, fantastic.
That's great.
Fantastic.
You are in Minnesota, St. Paul. I have not been to Minneapolis Minnesota yet. I've done 36 states, Kari, but that is not one of them. Not yet. It's on my list. Okay. I'll just have to come over and check you guys out over there. But for now, that just leads me to say, Kari, thank you very much for being my guest.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you for making my first podcast very enjoyable, Phil.
And listeners, as always, until next time, happy working.
Thanks for listening to the HR Chat Show. If you enjoyed this episode, why not subscribe and listen to some of the hundreds of episodes published by HR Gazette? And remember, for what's new in the world of work, subscribe to the show, follow us on social media, and visit hrgazette.com.